Well, I'm once again joined by my good friend Andy Godfrey from Sorted Magazine and Outreach UK. Andy, how are you doing?
I'm great, Nathan. How are you?
I'm very well, thank
Good
you.
to see you. So
Uh,
I'm sat here in my Bruce Springsteen World Tour T-shirt because I went to see Bruce Springsteen since we last spoke at Wembley, and I'm sleeping in my Bruce Springsteen T-shirt. Cost me 40 quid. I better make the most of it.
yes, I'm sure it was worth every penny.
Absolutely, it was fantastic. Yeah,
Awesome.
and been to see some movies as well.
Excellent. Yes. And of course, that's what we're here for. Movie
Yep.
reviews with our resident film critic, Andy Godfrey, to give us some movie reviews, give us the lowdown on some of the latest releases. So, do you want to take it away and give us some movie reviews on some of the
Okay,
latest
so
ones?
I want to begin with a film that we briefly mentioned at the end of the last time we spoke. If you, I don't know if you remember, last time we spoke, I said there was a film coming out called Thelma
Yes.
about a grandmother, and I finally got to see it. Now, this has not got a wide release, okay? You won't find this in many Odeons or cinema, but you will find it somewhere in perhaps a local art house cinema or something. The reason I want to begin with it, Nathan, is because it is my favourite film of the year so far.
Wow.
Okay. So, right at the beginning of the film, we meet Thelma. Thelma is a 94-year-old grandmother who is played by a 94-year-old actress called June Squibb. We see her at the beginning of the film sitting with her grandson. He's teaching her how to check her emails, believe it or not, on her laptop. And these two are obviously very close. The grandmother and grandson obviously love each other very much. They've obviously got a strong relationship. Grandson dotes on his grandmother and vice versa.
Hmm.
Then what happens is he goes out for the day. She gets a phone call, and the phone call says, "Your grandson has been kidnapped, and you need to post $10,000 in cash to this particular address." So she goes around the house, she gathers all the cash she can, she goes down to her bank, she gets $10,000 in cash out, and she posts it to the address that she's been given, hoping that this is going to set her grandson free from the kidnappers. Later that day, grandson turns up and says, "Hi, Gran, how are you? I've had a lovely day." She's been scammed.
Hmm.
What she then decides to do is to get her money back. So she goes to see a friend in a local senior citizens home. He's got a two-seater mobility scooter. They get on the mobility scooter. They start to drive to the address where she has sent the money to. Right
Hmm.
now, I don't want to say any more of that because basically this is Mission Impossible with senior citizens. Okay, so June Squibb is a 94-year-old Tom Cruise. Okay, it does have explosions in it. It does have chases on a mobility scooter. It does have all sorts of things going on. And it is hilarious. It is funny. It's really touching because it's a really, particularly the first part of the film, is a really interesting look at old age. And you know, the lifestyle that some old people live, where they just maybe do the same thing every day and they're living on their own. And it's really quite touching. But then it becomes quite funny. And then it becomes quite tense because she actually ends up confronting the bad guy in his lair. And again, I don't want to say any more than that, really. It will be available on streaming, I'm convinced, pretty soon. But honestly, Nathan, it's a 12A certificate. It's just a joy. I mean, I saw it in quite a small screening in the Watershed Cinema in Bristol, which is one of my favourite cinemas in the country. I think there was probably about 30 of us at the screening. We were all laughing and crying at the same time. And normally I don't like it when there's talking among the audience, because it can distract. Please keep quiet during the film. But at one point, one of the senior citizens in the home says, "Oh, I've got to get back because I'm starring in a play tonight in the senior citizens home." And somebody says, "Break a leg." And somebody in the audience behind me shouted out, "Please don't say that because he will." It's that kind of film. It was a real audience participation film. It's actually showing here tonight in Milton Keynes, and I'm hopefully going back for a second look. But it is my favourite film of the year simply because it's so simple. It's beautifully shot, beautifully made. It's really well acted. I mean, June Squibb playing a 94-year-old as a 94-year-old, it's just amazing, just amazing, just so charismatic. Great film. Mission Impossible when Tom Cruise becomes 94 years old. And honestly, it's a family film. You can take the kids to see it. You could take Granny to see it, and you should. Honestly, Nathan, seek it out. Just seek it out, people. Look in your local listings, Google it, but look out for this film. It is my favourite film of the year so far.
Wow. That's quite a recommendation if it's your favorite film of the year.
Yeah, I loved it.
Excellent. Well, that does sound like good fun.
It really genuinely is good. And as I said, it's a really interesting look at old age as well.
Mm.
You know, the relationship between the grandmother and the grandson is particularly touching. And I just loved it to bits. I mean, I really.
Awesome.
So, unfortunately, I couldn't say that, Nathan, about the next film.
Oh dear.
It's a film that's out in cinemas at the moment, and you will find this in Odeons and Cineworld, called Borderlands. So, I don't know if you're a gamer or not. I'm not a video gamer. Never
Not
have
so
been, never
much.
will be. No, there's a video game called Borderlands, which is about a ragbag bunch of treasure seekers looking for treasure on an alien planet. So
Okay.
that's the basic story, and they've got bad guys going after them who want the treasure as well. This film borders on being so bad it's good. I mean, you know, you get some films that are absolutely rubbish, but you sit there and you enjoy them for the rubbish that they are. You know, you're entertained by the nonsense on
I
screen.
see.
This is just nonsense. I mean, this is just really, really poor. The special effects are poor. Kate Blanchett stars in this. I mean, she must be really hard up for money to have accepted this role in this particular film, because she's a major star. There's a robot called Claptrap who just talks and talks and talks and talks. Right? He moves around on one wheel like a unicycle. They gave him the right name because this film is a load of claptrap. I mean, it's really poor. There are explosions everywhere and fights everywhere and guns going off everywhere and treasure seekers and aliens. And you'd think this would be really, really entertaining and really good. It's not. It's really not. It just poor scripting, obvious scripting. You know, oh, I think there's going to be an explosion in a minute. Hang on, bang, an explosion happens. You know, everything is telegraphed. Everything is obvious. I've got some friends who've been to see it and had a lot of fun. I sat there waiting for it to end, waiting for the inevitable ending. Actually, didn't really find it that entertaining. As I said, I was hoping. I went into it not expecting a lot, and boy, were my expectations met. But some
Okay.
people have enjoyed it for the nonsense that it is. You know.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's interesting. I
Yep.
mean, there's quite a few films that have been made on video games, and they
Yeah.
can be really good.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, you had the Laura. What's the name ones? You've had a few. I mean, last year we had Super Mario Brothers,
yeah.
which was one of the highest grossing films of all time.
Wow.
Because so many people, I think, have played Super Mario Brothers and went to see the film, and that was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really enjoyable. That was funny. That was good. This one is just naff. The jokes are crude. The jokes are obvious. The set pieces are obvious. You know exactly what's going to happen before it happens. There's no surprises.
Mm.
But Super Mario Brothers, yeah, and Laura Croft is the one I was thinking of.
Well, I
I think it's
suppose.
the very first film to be made after a video game.
Yeah. Well, I suppose with video games, some it can be quite hit and miss. You can take the elements of a video game, like in Super Mario Bros., and take all that nostalgia and combine it with modern day CGI to create something really quite
Yeah,
thrilling.
yeah,
Or you can create something that, as you say, is quite predictable because if it's a video game based on a video game, sometimes you already know the ending. So,
exactly, exactly. Now, and as I say, I've never played a video game really in my life, but I thought that this, as a film, going purely to watch a film, you know, as I say, some of my friends in the film group that I run disagreed with me. They said, "Look, it's total nonsense, but we've had a good time laughing at it." I got frustrated with it, you know, because I thought I'm wasting 2 hours of my life.
okay.
The other one I want to recommend, though, talking of it for families,
Hmm.
and you will find this in. This is a PG. Is a film called Harold and the Purple Crayon. Now, if Thelma is my favourite film of the year, this is my second favourite film of the year. It's based on a series of books that came out in America in the 1950s. They were about a little boy who had a magic purple crayon. Whatever he drew came to life.
Wow.
So if he drew a picture of a car, there was a car in front of him, right? And he lives in this world where he just creates things. He creates his whole universe by drawing with his magic purple crayon. And these books were quite simple. They were line drawings with text at the top, and apparently quite. I've never read them, but quite delightful. We open with one of the books being animated, so the screen's white We've got a little boy in black and white with his purple crayon drawing things. And suddenly he hears a voice. And the voice says, "It's been lovely to know you. Thank you for all the pleasure you brought into my life." And he doesn't hear the voice again. He then realizes that this voice has to be his creator in the real world. So last year, Barbie left Barbie Land and went into the real world in the Barbie film.
Yeah.
This little boy draws a door, and on it is he writes the words "real world." And he comes through from the animated world that the film has begun into the real world with two of his friends from the animated world, totally and utterly confused, bemused by what he sees. He comes through as a full-grown adult, but still with the mind of a little boy. Okay. He has an accident. He meets a little 12-year-old boy and his mum, who's played by Zoe Deschanel, who's an Australian actress. She's absolutely gorgeous and she's really good. And yet this mother and son run him and his mates over because they don't know about road etiquette, and they take him, and an adventure ensues, and he goes on a journey to look for his creator, or as he calls him, his father. There's a bad guy that they capture along the way who realizes the power of this purple crayon and wants to get it for himself. This bad guy has written a number of unsuccessful books, sort of Lord of the Ring type books about mystical worlds. He wants to use the purple crayon to create his own mystical world and escape into it. So there's a big fight at the end where people are fighting over the purple crayon. The thing I want to say about this film, it's absolutely charming. It's a kid's film. I'm 62 years old. Just had my 62nd birthday. This film is absolutely charming. I mean, it's just glorious. It's funny. In the cartoon world, the little boy likes to have apple pie, a blueberry pie for breakfast. In the real world, he draws blueberry pie after blueberry pie and fills this woman's kitchen, and she comes down and her whole kitchen's just full of blueberry pies. You know, where did these come from? You know, because she doesn't yet understand about the crayon. It is funny. It is entertaining. It's in the box office top 10 at the moment. I don't know how much longer it will be there, but it's still showing in my local Cineworld, so you should be able to find it. Again, take the kids for a treat during the school holidays, because it's really, really inoffensive, funny fun. I mean, honestly, I can't wait for it to come out on streaming or Blu-ray, because I really want to see it again. And I just loved it. I mean, it is really just good fun. And you can imagine they get into various scrapes, and of course using the purple crayon in imaginative ways to get them out of those scrapes, you know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So it's just great fun. It's a pure fantasy. I lost myself in this world for an hour and a half. It's only 90 minutes. There is a sequence halfway through the credits which is worth staying for, and genuinely take the kids to see it. Honestly, if you want to give the kids, if it's raining, if it's a bad day during the school holidays, you want to take the kids for a treat, take them to see Harold and the Purple Crayon. It's really good.
It does sound like a lot of fun, to be honest.
It is.
Just being lost. I mean, I love those films where they just basically take a kind of a childish imagination and bring it to reality.
Yeah. Now that's what they tried to do with Barbie last year. I didn't think the Barbie movie was a success because, for various reasons, there was a lot of innuendo in Barbie. It was almost like watching Carry On Barbie. But this film, there's no innuendo, there's no blasphemy, there's no inoffensive words, there's nothing. It's just pure, entertaining fun, fantasy, pure fantasy, of course, total nonsense, but really wonderful, really wonderful. And the performances are great. And as I say, Zoe Deschanel, who's playing this confused mother whose 12-year-old son realizes what the purple crayon is. She hasn't got a clue. And she's totally bemused by the whole thing and everything that's going on around her. And why has an airplane suddenly appeared in my back garden? Because he's drawn an airplane with this cup. Why are all these blueberry pies in my kitchen? Where they come from? She's terrific. And it won't win any awards. It won't break the box office records, but it deserved to, because I thought it was really good.
Yeah, that does sound like really good fun. Just childish fun, you know?
Yeah. And as I say, I'm 62 years old. I'm not the target audience, but a friend of mine called Bob Mann, who's older than me. Bob reviews movies for BBC Radio Solent. I said to Bob, "You've got to go and see this." And he went, "Oh, I'm not interested. Kiddies film." I'm really not into it. I said, Bob, you got to go and see it. He went to see it. He messaged me as he was coming out of the cinema. He said, absolutely loved it. So,
It's amazing when they can do that with a film. They can make it so much fun for not just for young and old.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just lose yourself in the fantasy of it.
Yeah.
Just go with it.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun to watch.
It is. Should we do one more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so new film from M. Night Shyamalan, who people might know from The Sixth Sense. He is a director who prides himself on making films that have got twists in the tail.
Mm.
Okay, the last scene is always a twist that hopefully you don't see coming. Okay, so he's written and directed a new film called Trap, and this starts with a young girl and her father walking into a rock concert. The fictional pop star on stage is Lady Raven. Obviously, she's meant to be Lady Gaga. And the young girl is so excited. She's going to her first pop concert and she's going to see her favorite pop star. And dad is coming with her, and dad's got great seats, 4 rows from the stage. Fantastic. But dad begins to notice, as do we, that the whole arena where the concert is taking place is being surrounded by police, by a ring of steel of policemen. They're all armed. They've all got, some of them have got riot shields. The whole concert, the whole stadium is surrounded. Absolutely no way out whatsoever. People in the audience, men in the audience, are being pulled out of their seats and being arrested. And the little girl doesn't notice. She's so fixed on what's happening on stage with her favourite pop star. But the dad notices and starts to take special attention. And we start to wonder, why is he making special attention of this? During the interval, he goes out to a concession stand to buy his daughter a T-shirt for the concert. And he says to the guy, what's going on? What's going on? Now, this is a 15 certificate film, okay? The guy says, this whole concert has been set up to trap the serial killer that's been running amok in Boston. So there's been a serial killer. We know the serial killer bought a ticket for this concert. So he's in here somewhere. And then what dawns on us is that this lovely, caring father who's taking his daughter to the concert is actually the serial killer. We slowly begin to realize, he's the serial killer. He's the one the police have. And the first hour of the film is him trying to figure out ways to get out of the building, without being spotted, without being arrested, without being checked. I'm not going to tell you how he does it, but he gets out with the daughter. The last half hour of the film is for me where it starts to go downhill because he gets home and things get a little bit predictable. The first hour of this film is really, really, really tense. And it's really very, very clever, very imaginative, as this guy just tries to find ways to get out the building. I mean, at one point, one of the people on stage emerges from a lift down in the basement, sort of comes up on stage, and he's looking down and thinking, can I get on that lift and get out through the basement? At another point, he goes to one of the concession stands where they're serving hot dogs, and he whips an apron and he goes into the kitchen to see if there's a way out through the kitchen. So the first hour of the film is basically, and the daughter keeps saying, Dad, will you sit still? I'm enjoying the concert and you keep walking off. And he keeps saying, oh, I got a dicky bladder and I need to use a loo and I need something to eat and all the rest of it. But he's actually trying to find a way out. So the first hour I thought was really, really tense. I thought it was really good. I thought the setup was fantastic. It's a long time since I've sort of seen a film with really good setup like that, The last half hour, when he does get out and goes home, it becomes a little bit pedestrian. It becomes a little bit plodding. So I thought it was 2/3 of a good film. But again, this is going to be one of the big films of the summer, Trap. And, it's worth seeing. It's definitely worth seeing. It's worth your time. But I was disappointed because this director normally, M. Night Shyamalan, all of his films, I've seen all of his films, they normally have got quite a good twist in the tail. This one had I saw the twist in the tail coming, and so did everybody else who's seen it, So disappointing from that point of view, but first hour, absolutely brilliant.
Oh, that's great. Thanks so much, Andy. Some great films there to think about. There's Thelma and also Borderlands The other one
Harold and the
was
Purple Crayon.
Harold and the Purple Crayon, which you're saying is a great one for
Families.
families. Yeah, great
Yeah.
family
Take
film, but
kids.
also for young and old alike.
Yeah. And Trap. I
And
mean, the
Trap.
number one in the box office at the moment, Nathan, is still Deadpool and Wolverine.
Ah, yes.
It's a smashy, bashy, crashy, sweary, blood-soaked film. Yeah, it's a
Yes.
15 certificate.
Yes, I've heard it's rather violent.
It is very violent, trust me. There's lots of blood. There's lots of innuendo.
Hmm.
There's also lots of irreverence because Deadpool does a lot of talking to the camera. So during the climactic scene on the soundtrack, I'll just give you one example of the kind of humor in this film. During the climactic scene where Deadpool and Wolverine are basically saving the world, on the soundtrack of the film, there's a Madonna track, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the film, he comes on, he says, "Why did we have to save the world listening to Madonna?" And he's talking to the audience. He's breaking the fourth wall, as we call it.
Mm.
It's very loud. It's very smashy. It is very crashy. It is very violent. I have to say personally, and don't judge me, guys, I quite enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed it for what it was. But it's not. But for me, Thelma and Harold and the Purple Crayon are the two best films of the summer. Seek them out.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks so much, Andy. And would you mind recommending just one film perhaps we could watch over the weekend?
Yeah, to watch at home. Yeah. So my daughter Amy put me onto this. She messaged me and said that she'd watched a film on Netflix called Ice Road, and Dad, you have to watch it. So we were up in the Arctic Circle. Liam Neeson stars in this film. There's been an explosion in an underground mine in the Arctic Circle where they're mining for methane and stuff.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson, 200 miles away, has to get a pump, a massive, great big industrial pump on the back of a trailer to this mine. But he has to drive across roads that are covered in ice and lakes that are covered in ice in order to get there.
Wow.
It's a long story, but basically, is he going to make it in time? It's very tense. It's very exciting. It's called Ice Road. It's on Netflix. It's a really good thriller. And I sat there quite engrossed by the whole thing and just messaged Amy afterwards and said, thanks very much, because I really enjoyed that. So Ice Road on Netflix.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds like good. I do like a good thriller now and then. One that keeps you on your seat.
Nathan. You'll enjoy this one. It's good on Netflix, as I say. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, Andy, for bringing us some movie reviews this Friday. I look forward to hearing again from you next week.
We will do, and I'll have seen a few more films by then, hopefully. The new Alien film is out, so whether we'll see how good that is.
All right. Well, look forward to finding out.
Yeah. Thanks, Nathan, ever so much.
Thanks.
God bless you. God bless Pure.
Did you know Pure 24/7 Radio has a shop? Well, we do. You can buy merchandise while supporting the work that we do here. Simply head over to www.pure247radio.org/shop. That's www.pure247radio.org/shop.